Alrighty. Here we are, Justin.
Hey Laura, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Welcome everyone into the room. I can see our attendees are filling up, which is awesome.
Yeah, welcome everybody. Thanks so much for coming. All right. So how long ago was it since we did the last webinar, Laura? Feels kind of quick, but it feels like ages as well. So much has happened.
Yes, each day is long and then the months and years are short. But I'm happy to be here again and talking all about profit.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. So today, super exciting webinar. What I want to talk about, what we want to talk about is the behavioral psychology behind why the book Profit First and the method of Profit First works so well, with some additional examples and the science to back it up. And then how do you put that habit on autopilot, right? Because believe it or not, it is possible. So we're going to jump into it. First of all, what we're going to cover, three parts: the hook model, so the behavioral psychology behind how and why this method of managing your business finances is an absolute life changer, and it is. Laura is proof in the pudding. So many of the Profit First community are also proof in the pudding. Millions and millions of readers of the Profit First book are also proof in the pudding. And what I've learned from 2 years working at Thriday and talking to small business owners every day is that the most successful ones out of the lot of them all have systems, right? They have a lot of systems in place to keep their businesses running smoothly and easily and functionally. And when I say successful, I don't mean, necessarily earning millions and millions of dollars a year. I mean, some people who might have young kids that need care and they've got to stay home and look after them. So their business provides them with that flexibility to do that. That's what success means for them, right? But it's these systems and processes that really help them. So the next step we're going to talk about is how to get from red to black. And this is the exact steps that any business can take to get from red to gray to black and stay there. We'll talk about this in more detail, and jump in here, Laura, if you've got any other thoughts. But something that can be overwhelming for people is how can my business be successful, or how can I make a profit if I'm sort of in the red already? Like, it's just overwhelming, right? But
Absolutely.
There is a way to get there, like a clear, strategic, planned way to get there. So we'll talk about that. And then how to put it all on autopilot, right? And this is important. What we learned before we even started to build Thriday was that the average business owner spends 6 hours and 19 minutes per week, or just over 40 days a year, managing their financial admin. It's crazy, right? Crazy. So we're here to show you how to cut that down to just over half an hour, or around about the half an hour mark.
I can't wait.
Can't wait. So how, this relationship with Thriday and Profit First all came together is we chased down Laura and her team because we were just so desperate to work with them and their community, because we saw such a synergy of how it would all come together, right? And you want to talk me through the part over on the left-hand side, Laura, about Profit First and the process, and then how Profit First Australia became?
Absolutely. So, and I'd actually love to know in the comments where you're currently located and if you already know about Profit First, because that would be great to see who's in the room. As we are probably aware now, Profit First is a book that was written by Mike Michalowicz and has hundreds of thousands of books sold globally every single year. And it really is about leveraging that behavior, as Justin has shared, around how we make decisions as business owners, especially with our money. What we've then gone and done, or Mike and Ron established Profit First Professionals in the US, where accountants, bookkeepers, and coaches were trained in the Profit First methodology so they could go out and help businesses ensure that they don't have the cash flow problems, that they're profitable, even if they're in a difficult position, and with a framework and a system that actually works. And so as part of that, I was asked to set up and be the CEO of Profit First Australia and New Zealand. And so my role is training and certifying accountants, bookkeepers, and coaches in this methodology so that small business, medium business, any business can have this implemented so that cash flow isn't a problem. And so really we've got the people that are helping, we have the process with Profit First, and that's exactly where Friday comes in with the technology.
Yeah, so you can see the intersection of the Venn diagram here. The process and the people together, have a better method, right, for people to use. The people combined with the technology means that there's better uptake of the Profit First method. And one of the hardest things I think about the Profit First method, even though it's not that hard, is the actual setup of it, right? Setting up all of the bank accounts, you've got to go in and set them up. You've got to, set up your calendar to notify you of when to make the manual distributions of funds and all of that kind of good stuff. So, it's a process, and inevitably, whenever there's friction, people fall off, right? People neglect to complete the process. They don't carry through with it. And then it doesn't work for them, and then they're kind of a little bit bitter and twisted sometimes. So, our philosophy with Friday, right from the get-go, with everything that we build, has been to make the small business owners' lives as easy as we possibly can, right, through automation and technological innovation. So, that's where the whole thing fits in with the Venn diagram, and ultimately together we're all after optimal business outcomes, right? We want more businesses to be more successful, whatever success means to them, like I said before.
Absolutely. And I can see that we've got a number of people here that have either read the book multiple times, has just read it. We've got someone that's got Profit First on their reading list. So we've got quite a mix. And I see that everyone is kind of placed all over the place. That's really great to have you here.
Yeah, and look out, we've got 2 friends being made in Nowra. So hopefully you guys can connect. All right, what do we got next? We have, the Tale of 3 books. First of all, Profit First, right, which it sounds like most of you guys are aware of. So Profit First, at the time that I put this deck together over the last few days, was the #1 book in the financial section on Amazon, right? And you can see there 8,519 reviews, basically 5 stars. People like it because it works, right? So, it really is an amazing book. Now, this is the in my opinion, this is kind of the guts of it. But Laura, maybe you talk about how this sort of came about, why this part of it is so important.
Sure. So as Justin has spoken about, the behavioural side of things is really the underlying reason whether something is a success or not. And so the formula of sales minus expenses equals profit, which is the general accounting principle, and yes, don't glaze over your eyes yet because I'm not going to stay here for too long. It is really saying, well, whatever money comes in, spend it on expenses, and then you might actually have some profit left over. What that does from a behavioral point of view is that's what you're going to concentrate on. And it's called the primacy effect. Whatever the first 2 things that we see is how we then focus and act on things. So if we say sales minus expenses, you're going to try and earn more money and spend more money, and hopefully you'll have profit at the end. And so the book itself is really the principle of flipping that completely on its head and saying, well, if you concentrated on profit, then you would be able to bring revenue in, put your profit aside, and then what's left over is what you have available to you in your business, which is a much more sustainable way of making decisions, of being able to know what money is actually available to you and not overspending. It also leverages another law called Parkinson's law, which is all about, and normally it's spoken about time, but it works for money as well, which is whatever time you have available is what you will use. So I am a great example of a deadline. If I have a deadline, I can ignore said deadline until an hour before and smash it all out. That's actually Parkinson's law. It's the same with money. If you have one bank account with all of your money sitting there, then you're likely to spend it all. It is human behavior. It is Parkinson's law. And so by leveraging that behavior and setting up the multiple bank accounts and prioritizing profit and focusing on profit and having cash profit put aside, it means that you gain that clarity immediately without having to change a million things. And so that's a really broad overview of it, but the main reason that Profit First actually works.
100%. Couldn't agree more. And I love this quote from Mike. It's on his website. And interestingly, it's the very last line in the body of copy that is talking about this, right? Profit is a habit. And, you know, after having met Mike, and you know him better than I do, Laura, but I imagine that was very, very intentional to leave that final thought with people who were sort of got to the end there. Profit is a habit. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about, because it actually is a habit. And it's so important that you make it a habit. So
absolutely. And on that note as well, what we tend to think is that profit is something that will come to you if you tick all of the boxes, when in actual fact, if you create a habit that works for you, everyone can be profitable.
Yeah, 100%. So let's get into book number 2, Hooked. This is a fantastic book. I highly recommend you all read it. Interestingly, the subtitle there, How to Build Habit-Forming Products, is how I got introduced to the book originally. Nothing to do with Profit First, nothing to do with Thriday or finance. Actually, it's my role as head of growth with Thriday, and I was at another startup, you know, home loans before I was with Thriday, was to learn all about how to help people use products effectively and how to use products to help people engage with those products better, right? So Nir Eyal came up with, did a bunch of research and put together this framework, and we'll talk about it now. It's the Hook framework, right? And what it consists of is a trigger, action, reward, and investment. And the trigger can be an external trigger or an internal trigger. Ideally, it's both, right? And it's something that triggers you to then go and take a particular action, right? And then the key part about the action is once you take that action, to want and to need to take that action again, you need to be rewarded, right? And interestingly, the reward, and this is the amazing part that really piqued my interest when it came to business owners. If it's a variable reward, you're going to be much, much more likely over time to continue in this loop, right? If it's the same reward every time, you actually get bored and you kind of start to neglect it and forget about it. And this was a study done back in the 1950s with rats and mice. If the reward was variable, the mice would be compelled to just continue to try and get the reward. But if it was the same over and over again, they knew they were going to get it. They became complacent and they sort of discarded it. And then they did a bunch of tests on humans and we're the same, right? So the reward is a variable reward. And if you think about a small business, income coming in and going out and the amount of income that comes in and the time that it comes in, there's your variable reward right there, right?
It's so true. And the feedback we get as well when it comes to rewards with Profit First, and I love this that you've spoken about the trigger and that variable reward, is that one of the things that people say is there's just so much money in the different bank accounts. And it's because it varies. And it's that reward that, well, I'm going to strive for more, or I want to see this hit that goal. So I love that. Thanks so much.
Exactly. Yeah. And, you know, the variable reward is kind of the owner's pay section for Profit First. Okay. So you get that variable reward every time a chunk of money hits your account, you get a bit of that money for yourself, right? Because you deserve it. You worked for it. So the reward part is very important that it's variable, and you have no choice that it's variable given what you guys do as business owners. Now, the investment part is the profit account. So you're going to continue, you're going to form a habit of just wanting to make more money so you can get the variable reward often, but you're going to watch your profit account grow, and that investment means that you're going to be in this for the long haul, right? Yes, there comes a point in time where you get to use that profit for whatever it is that you want, because you deserve it. Again, you're the one that took the risk in, having this small business, hiring those people, spending the money on the marketing, sending the invoice after you finish the work. That's the risk you take as a business owner to deserve the profit that you receive. And as part of this loop, profit is the investment. So, as you can see, the hook method, once you put yourself into this loop, you've actually got no choice but to make more money and keep rewarding yourself, and to grow that investment. So that's what I love about this book and its link to Profit First.
One of the biggest things that we say as Profit First professionals as well is it's not about the technical, it's actually all about the behavior. And once you have that behavior and looking at this hooked method of that trigger, seeing the action, getting the reward, being reinvested in it again, and it keeping going, and that's why the profit is a habit is such an important note. There's no other way to do it. Why make it hard on yourself? It all comes down to, you already have these behaviors, why not leverage them?
Exactly. Put them in the right sequence, make them a habit, right? Make them a habit. And then, you put yourself into the loop, and that becomes a flywheel as well. It just gets easier and easier and spins faster and faster.
It does.
Now, the third book, another book I love, I read it, I use it predominantly to help me form habits and motivation for, physical fitness and training, which is something that I've been interested in for a long, long time. But what I love about this book is it clarifies everything that we've learned from the other two books of Profit First and from Hooked, right? So Atomic Habit, and there's a lot of things I love about this book cover as well. Tiny changes, remarkable results. Now you think about the changes that you need to make to set yourself up with Profit First. That's a tiny change. It really is. You set up 5 or 6 bank accounts. You deposit specific percentages into those bank accounts every time you receive income or on a set schedule. And you do that continuously, and you will be permanently profitable. And it is a very tiny change that you need to make, but it can have a massive impact on your business and a massive impact on your life, right? So if you read between the lines, they're tiny changes, remarkable results. And atomic habits, I love this as well. Atomic, you can think of atomic as the atomic bomb, right? Which is massive, huge explosion. But then you think of the atom, such a small thing that sort of creates that massive impact. Amazing. And this is the guts of the book as well. And, very similar to the hooked method, but really backs up the science behind it. So make it obvious, the cue, and that's your money coming into your income account. It's super obvious, right? Like you send an invoice, you get paid, there's your money coming in. The craving, make it attractive. Of course, you want to get paid. You want to be on top of things. You want to be successful. You want to be organized. That's attractive. So there's your craving to do more of it. Make it easy. That's where Friday helps a lot. We can make it super, super easy. But again, even if you don't use Friday, you can make it easy for yourself by having the system and the process in place, and just sticking to it. Because it's not hard, is it, Laura? Really?
It's not. And really, when you say make it easy, even if you don't have the systems in place yet, the fact that it's a percentage and not a dollar figure makes it easier. So it doesn't matter if it's $100 in your bank account or 100,000, that percentage is the same. Yes, the dollar will vary, but it's still the same process that you're making. So it's a very easy thing to follow and make decisions on.
Exactly. And then make it satisfying. There's nothing better than watching that profit account grow. Super, super satisfying. So there you go. 3 amazing books, all with their own sort of story, but all coming back to a similar sort of theme and a similar process to get what you want to get. Now, some people think, well, it sounds easy, put it into place, but, I might not be making that much money now, or I'm making a lot of money, but my expenses are really high. So, is it actually worth me even trying to investigate this? Like, should I even think about doing it? So Laura, tell me, how do you actually get going if that's how you're thinking?
It's a great question to ask because one, it means you're being honest with yourself. And a lot of the time, what we tend to do when we make a decision is go, well, I'm just going to do it and it'll all work out. So the fact that you're asking, is it actually going to be sustainable? This feels overwhelming is a really great question to ask. And my answer is yes, as long as you do it 1% at a time. And what I mean by that is that if you are currently in an overwhelmed state where it's like, I don't see how I can get from being in debt or getting my expenses under control or earning enough money to this profitable position that is my ideal. And that gap is quite big. And so instead, what is the first thing that you could be doing? And that is, potentially setting up a profit account and putting 1% away of all of your income. So it may only be $100 that you have in your profit account to start with, but you've started that habit. Once you start things in incremental, times or money or whatever it is, or percentages, it then becomes easier. As this diagram shows, you can start really, really small, but over time, you get to that ideal point. And as long as you are clear on where you're starting and where you want to be and take those incremental steps and changes, then that's going to get you there. And the other thing is if it's expenses that you need to get under control, we'll start there. Just separating your income and your expenses account, if you did nothing else, is going to give you so much clarity as to exactly how much money is going towards your expenses so that you can then make changes. And so it's doing an instant assessment, which can be seen in the book, which is a free resource that we have available to everyone so that you know exactly where you are and where you're trying to get to so that you can make those incremental changes.
100%. And the debt thing is really interesting as well. I like the snowball method for debt. You just pick your smallest debt. It doesn't matter if it's the debt with the highest interest rate. It doesn't matter if anything. You just pick the smallest one, right? And you pay that off. You keep paying the minimum payments of your big debts, of course, but whatever additional money you can afford to use to pay off the smallest debt, you smash that as quickly as you can. Once that debt has been smashed, you move on to the next smallest debt with all of the money that you were using to pay off the last one, plus the minimum repayments that you're paying on that one. And over time, all of a sudden, your debts are gone. And then, that makes this process even easier. So.
And it totally leverages the behavior because you see that snowball and that momentum, which then ignites that motivation, which puts you back in that hook again to be able to go, oh, there's a reward. Here's how I can take the action. This is worth doing.
100%. 100%. So how do we get there?
The first place to start is actually defining your success. And Justin spoke about this in the beginning, and we really don't spend enough time here as business owners. And I feel like I bang on about this, but it is so important. And, these questions that we have on the screen are some prompts that can help you. But what is your success? So Justin shared that success could be for, a person who has family and their family is a priority, that their business is flexible so that they can prioritize their family. For another person, it might actually be to earn a particular revenue so that, they can have more time off or have a dollar figure that's available to them that represents financial freedom, or it could be the $1 million plus business. Nothing is right or wrong, but defining it for yourself will mean that you have a target that is meaningful to you. So therefore that motivation to make those changes. So some of the questions to ask are, why are you in business? And it doesn't have to be a big altruistic thing either. You could be so that you can be with your family. It could be so that you could build wells and give back to third world countries. It could be anything that you want, as long as you know why you chose to do this. And what do you want to get out of it? And this is where I'm going to talk to it from a profit first perspective. As the owner of your business, how much do you want to pay yourself regularly without having to worry about whether you have money or not to pay yourself? How much profit would you like to see in your business? And what does that mean if you had that sitting in your profit account in cash? What do you want to get out of it? We often go, well, I'll eventually get there, I'll get paid, or I'll have profit, or whatever it is. But if we don't know what we actually want to get out of it, it's very hard to put a system or a framework in place that will get you there. And what does success look like? Is it not working so many hours in your business and still being able to pay yourself the same wage? Is it having a team that you've managed to give them jobs and they can then keep your business running? And this is the kicker, this one. What is your time frame? I know I want things yesterday. That's me. That's my personality trait. What about you, Justin?
Yeah, look, I want things quickly, but yeah, this is the deadline thing, right? Set yourself a deadline and work towards it. You'll be much more likely to achieve it.
Absolutely. And the thing is, if we say, well, my time frame is to, a year, then you can test, correct, make the tweaks, and that could be tweaks to your percentages, could be looking at your offerings as to how you could change that slightly to bring in more money, because you know that these percentages that you have set up will be able to pay you, will be able to look after your expenses, will cover all of your compliance. And what is realistic based on the time you have available, based on what you've already committed to in your business. Yeah. And it's quite interesting, Justin, we're doing our planning for 2024 within the community. And one of the things that we got was to get them to print out an actual planner of the 12 months and put in first school holidays, any travel that they're doing, anything personal that they've committed to. And then you look and see, what time do I actually have available? What's realistic? One of our members said, wow, I'm actually only going to be able to work 110 days in a whole year. So therefore, what you strive to do becomes realistic when you know exactly what time you have
40 available. Of those days are going to be taken up with financial admin.
That's it. We don't want that.
No, we do not want that.
That's it. And what do you need to efficiently achieve the goals that you've identified? And that's where having the instant assessment within the Profit First methodology done and being clear about where you're trying to go, because then it becomes a 1% change in each of the accounts as time goes on. Yeah. It's all about the definition of success for you and then creating sustainable change that still motivates.
Yeah. I bang on a lot about efficiency. And the need for small businesses like never before to be as efficient as they possibly can be. And what I love about Profit First is your measure of efficiency, the way I see it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Laura, or articulate it better than I do, is that if your OPEX account is growing, right, that means your business is effectively efficient. It means that once that OPEX account has grown to a certain point where you can do the next thing, like hire that next staff member, spend that extra money on additional marketing, that becomes your sort of your lever, if you like, that OPEX account and your measure of efficiency.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And that was beautifully articulate. I've got nothing more to say to that, Justin.
Awesome. So yeah, define success. Super, super important. They're the steps to do it. Be realistic about it. Be efficient. Set a time frame. Understand what it looks like, of course, because success is very, very different to very, very different people. Another interesting point when we did our research in before we set up Thriday was that over 70% of businesses don't actually want to grow, right? All of the advertising and everything you see out there, we'll help you grow your business. That, like, people don't want more staff. They don't want more products to sell. They just want their business to be successful as they define it, right? And, there are a few people that want it to go gangbusters and want to work 25 hours a day. But the vast majority of us don't want that. And, these systems and processes help you achieve that success without burning the candle at both ends.
That's it.
So it's just a process. Just start. It doesn't have to be big in the beginning. It can be $1. You can be $1 every time you get money in the door. You can put $1 aside for profit, and you can work your way up from there, or 1%.
That's right. And the key is the habit around it. So making sure that it is on a schedule that works, that you can see what's going on, so that you can see any problems as well. If you haven't been paid when you should have been, it's not because you don't know about it. You see it immediately. And so by putting, the Profit First bank accounts in place, you'll be able to see where your pricing may not be right. You'll be able to see where you can become more efficient. You'll be able to see where you're overspending or not getting that return on investment of things that you think you might be getting. And it is about the small incremental changes.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of the tactics actually to help improve these things in the last webinar series we did. So I'll send a link out and you guys can all have a watch of that. You know, I like the one I liked that I always remember was some people send invoices before they've even done the work. Before, like as soon as they get the job, they'll send the invoice. And sure, the person doesn't have to pay until a little bit later, but that's one job that they haven't left to the last minute or wasted time on. And inevitably, a good chunk of people actually pay that invoice right there and then, as soon as they've received it, right? Because they just want to get it done. So another little tip to help with your cash flow.
Yeah, but I really would go back to our money series that we did, because we did it over a number of parts and dove deep into the areas. So if you're wanting a deeper way of understanding profit first and the steps to define success, then I really recommend that you have a look at that webinar series as well.
100%. All right. So we talked about, you know, creating a habit of when it comes to profit. We talked about the behavioral psychology behind why it's important. We talked about how to define exactly where you want to end up in terms of profit and what success means to you. And like I said, we built Thriday to make this process as easy as possible as it can be for business owners, right? Because what we knew was accounting platforms, the status quo effectively was kind of designed to make everybody else's life easier. But the small business owner was left kicking the can down the road, doing all of the work, sitting up on Sunday nights, doing all of the reconciliation, going back and forth, you know, with the accountant, trying to understand what's what, and you know, spending a lot of money doing so. So what we've done at Thriday is we've launched a couple of features recently. One is the Profit First account setup. So you can jump into Thriday and you can literally click one link and it will spin up all of the Profit First accounts. So your revenue account, which has your Visa debit card, your revenue account, which your income goes into, your profit account, owner's pay, your OPEX account, which has your Visa debit card attached to it, tax, GST, if you're registered for GST, and then materials and subs if you need to, and you can add additional accounts for super and all of that kind of good stuff. You can set it up however you like, right? Super flexible. And then you can assign those target allocation percentages. And once you've done that and you've saved that, every time money hits that revenue account, according to the schedule that you've selected, it can happen as soon as money hits the account, or it can happen on the 10th or the 25th of each month, where you can eyeball it and make sure that everything's sort of humming along. But that money will be allocated to all of those accounts on autopilot, right? So effectively, you've automated yourself into the hooked method. You've got one less thing to think about. You get the variable reward of receiving your owner's pay as soon as money hits your account. You get to watch your profit account increase. So you get that investment feeling, and your business is super, super organized right from the get-go.
I have to jump on this because I don't think people realize how freaking awesome this is. And I just want to talk to why this is so important and why Thriday are ahead of everyone else when it comes to really automating the Profit First methodology. As a PFP, and I've been a Profit First professional for, I don't know, 8 odd years or something, the biggest stumbling block for people is setting up those multiple bank accounts. Banks are difficult, and Thriday have done it for you. You literally click a link and it happens. And because they're working with us at, Profit First Australia and New Zealand, we've already ensured that you have target allocation percentages in there so that you can see your target immediately, and you can change those if you'd like to. This is normally done manually, and it saves so much time. So I'm super excited about it. But this whole allocations, what would normally have to happen is you'd have some sort of calculator where you put in the amount of money that's in your income account that has the percentages, and it tells you what dollar figure you need to transfer to each account. This does it for you. There's no other place that does it all correctly with the profit first method. This is massive.
Yeah, we've got to thank you, Laura, for literally helping us design this feature. We went a lot of back and forth on how to do this, what to remove, what to add in, what schedules we need, what reasons we should be, letting people choose for the allocation, how it shows notifications within Friday to keep those, triggers occurring, right? So there's, a lot of thought, a lot of effort has gone into the thinking behind how this works. And then obviously the execution of it is pretty amazing. Yes, there's a couple of questions in here. Does it link to Xero? Yes, the Friday, the accounts within Friday can be connected to Xero if you want. Friday is designed to ideally, so you don't ideally have to have an accounting platform as well. You can kind of do it within Friday. So some of the additional features that we haven't sort of discussed here are receipt management. So you can scan receipts, we'll OCR the details in, and they'll automatically be reconciled to each of the transactions. So that saves you a whole bunch of time. We've got a bill manager feature where you can scan bills into Friday. They're automatically scheduled for payment from your OPEX account, which is another massive time saver. So, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that happens in the background. Some other questions. Does Friday work with any bank, e.g. Westpac? So our banking partner is Regional Australia Bank. They provide the bank accounts with the financial backed by the Commonwealth Financial Claim Scheme of up to 250 grand per account. So it's a legitimate bank account that you're getting within Friday. We don't have open banking as such, so we don't work with the likes of Westpac. You can't connect your Westpac account to Friday. But what you could do is you could set up the Friday bank accounts and the allocations and allocate some of those funds to your Westpac account if that's how you wanted to roll. So that's pretty easy as well. What other
It's a pretty awesome banking partner, if I do say so myself. And no, I don't work for Friday. I'm just really a huge fan in terms of, regional Australia, because when we're looking at banks, when it comes to low fee, no fee as profit first, it's really hard to find a bank that ticks all the boxes when it comes to having the infrastructure that you need, it being no fee, but it's also a community bank as well. So it's giving back, and there's lots of other things to consider as well. So I think it's just an amazing banking partner, and of course what Friday have built.
Yeah. No, we worked very hard to pick the right banking partner, and Regional Australia Bank, like you said, with their community values, their approach to sustainability and all of those good things were high on our list of considerations. So we were lucky enough that they had the banking as a service technology, which actually no other bank in Australia actually has at the moment or offers at the moment. So it was kind of meant to be.
Absolutely.
What else have we got? Is RAB Xero fees? So no monthly account access fee for the bank accounts. Friday is $29.95 a month, so it does cost money to use Friday, the application, but the 10 bank accounts, some of the bank accounts might charge you $5 or $10 a month. So if you were to set up 10, it might cost you $100 a month, but there's no monthly access fee for the actual bank accounts within Friday. You can use the bank accounts for no cost at all, but you can't use the allocations feature with the no cost banking at the moment. So
yeah, think of the time you're saving.
Exactly. It's a no-brainer, right? If you actually put that into a spreadsheet. I was talking to a Profit First member, Painter, a while back, and he literally did put it into a spreadsheet, and I think he said Friday would save him, even after him paying $30 a month for Friday, would still save him additional $800 a year.
Nice.
In compared to what he was doing before. I actually spoke to another courier company a little while back. They were paying $5,000 a year, and they came over to Friday and literally saved them, $4,000 a year or something ridiculous. So it was amazing. All right.
So Friday does have the bank accounts standalone that I'm just answering a question by Sean. He said, so to clarify, Friday fees only fee for the system. Yes, that's right.
Yep.
If you want to use the allocation percentages, which as you can see, is a feature that they've worked really hard on and, requires a lot of maintenance and that sort of thing, it is part of their fee, but otherwise the bank accounts stand alone, zero.
Yeah. Annie, the advisor access is certainly on the roadmap. Coming off next in Q1 will be companies, right? So companies will be able to onboard to Thriday before March, is my understanding, even though it's taken as long as it has. And then, advisor access will come up shortly after that, I imagine, because it's obviously becomes more and more important with you guys need to getting in there and helping your clients. So yeah, it's definitely Absolutely. On the roadmap, 100%.
And we have a question here by Janelle. I may have misunderstood, but does this mean that it could have your revenue account with Regional Australia Bank and then have it allocated to other accounts with another bank? If you wanted to do it that way, you could. I personally wouldn't recommend it because it's much more seamless within the one bank, and regardless of which bank it is, having all of your Profit First accounts, apart from your hold accounts, in the same bank, it works really well. But if you wanted to, you could still use the allocations to have it send to other banks.
Yeah, correct. Another thing on our roadmap is interest-bearing accounts, which will make it super valuable to be able to, save your tax and your GST in accounts that are actually generating additional revenue for you. So we're pumped about that one. And just to be super clear, these features only work within Thriday. If you went and got a bank account with Regional Australia Bank directly, like you wouldn't have access to any of this. It's only within Thriday. We just, the bank accounts that are created within Thriday are powered by Regional Australia Bank, just to be super clear.
Beautiful.
So, as part of this, Profit First have kindly offered to provide the Profit First video book at no cost to you guys. You can use that QR code there, or you can go to that URL and we'll send through the link. We'll send through a recording of this webinar and all of these links tomorrow after it's had time to, download and process and all of that kind of good stuff through Zoom. But if you want to access any of those things now, and the Thriday, I've been talking about the monthly subscription cost of $29.95, but we can give you the annual plan for $199. So, very cheap. Well, way less than the cost of a cup of coffee a day to have your finances basically on autopilot, which is super cool.
Love it. Yeah, if you're going to take one step today, it will be, if you haven't even looked at Profit First yet, then grab the free video book. It is Mike talking all about Profit First, so you don't have to read a book if you don't want to either. And if you're up to, setting up bank accounts and that sort of thing, then jump on this annual plan with Thriday. Either way, it's going to start that habit and you're going to get into that hooked system, which will ensure that you're profitable.
Exactly. Look, 45 minutes. Look at that, Laura. We did no practice. We did no timing, and we were right on time. So thank you all so much for attending. Really, really appreciate it. Another link that I'll share in tomorrow's follow-up email will be a Calendly link where you can book a one-on-one demo with me personally, and I can answer any additional questions that you guys have. So, I'd love to meet you guys one-on-one, and super happy to help in any way we can.
That's it. And feel free to reach out to us at Profit First if you have any questions. We've got lots of free resources on our website as well. So yeah, thank you for being here. I know time is valuable and I've had an absolute blast, Justin. So thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Really appreciate it as always.
Awesome. Thanks everyone.
See you guys.
Good day.